other things
That's
to
a
note,
lot.
which will be for next show, like obviously Pac-Man repo already enabled.
Oh, cool. Yeah, not Pac-Man, the package manager, Pac-Man, the repo.
Yeah.
Right.
Enabled out of the box. So you don't have to fiddly around with any of the adding the extra repo bits. So
Right.
if you had the NVIDIA, you'd be all set. Plus you get all the H.264 codec stuffs,
Yes. I said it before, and everybody trying to disagree with me, but Gecko is Linux Mint to
It is.
like Debian, as opposed Tumbleweed to Gecko is like Debian to Linux Mint, or LMDE at least. And
yeah, it's like why Linux Mint began, right? Honestly,
yeah, but yeah,
to fix all those pain point things in Ubuntu that you couldn't fix. So
do not send me
Gecko does
a
that.
how-to page the very first time I want anything done. Don't do that. I mean, as I get better, cool, but
not out of the gate. I think it solves a lot of that stuff. Coming up in this episode, today I learned, let's get generous. Browser Watch. So much feedback. And automated whack-a-mole. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 13 of Linux User Space. I'm Dan.
And I'm Leo.
Hey, Leo. Big news. Big news. I'm super happy with this, and I know you are as well.
Oh, yeah.
We're on TILvids. We're
Finally. On it. We've been talking about getting federated and all the things for a little while now.
We have.
And slowly but surely, I think Dan had the first Mastodon account.
Yeah.
Then, and I say the rest of us because this is a while ago, finally got on Mastodon as well. We did some shuffling, some things happened. Dan had to come to Mastodon.social, and then I moved around a couple of times, and then we started talking about what else could we federate.
Yeah.
And PeerTube was something that we wanted to add to the lineup. And after a little bit of backroom chats, we got hooked up with a TILvids account.
Yeah, and I'm loving the the instance. I think I like what they stand for, and we certainly fit in there with the history bits that we do. And today I learned, right?
Yeah, today I learned video. So so TILvids. First off, I know we say federation and the F word a lot, but TILvids is not federated with any other PeerTube instance.
It is not.
It's nice and siloed away, and it is really just for educational type content.
Yeah.
And our intention with that is to move over the educational stuff. So usually just the history stuff, and anything else that falls under the, you might learn something out of this, out of this snippet of video.
And so you say it's not federated, but like a couple of cool things that I'll point out here. You can subscribe to the thing even though it's not necessarily federated. And so you can see those notifications of whenever a new video hits, for any of the channels that you're interested in. You can watch those in your Mastodon, actually. And so whenever a new video hits our channel, it'll show up in your Mastodon feed, which is really kind of cool, right?
That's cool.
They just fly by, as like all the Mastodon things do. And the other thing that you can do, and I know you noticed this too, is anything that's in the Fediverse really is just an RSS feed. So you can subscribe to that RSS feed with like a feed reader or something like that, and then get your subscription that way.
Yeah, you don't even have to go to the website itself to actually get the content, which I think is just really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're just not a fan of YouTube, so when you watch the what is TILvids video, we'll have that linked in the show notes because it is a real short video. But it's about privacy, right? There's no ads, there's no tracking, none of that stuff. So all of the things that you might not like about YouTube doesn't exist over on the old TILvids, which is kind of nice. It's just a good place to be. I think we're in good company, right? You have the Linux Experiment. You have Veronica Explains.
Yep.
You have the Thunderbird channel over there as well.
Tech Lore is over there.
Tech Lore, yeah, exactly. So there are
some good ones.
Tons of other educational type stuff over there. So I mean, if you find us there, you're going to find a lot of other stuff that might interest you as well.
I'm happy. I'm feeling very comfortable there myself. So I hope everyone, just checks it out at least once and enjoys it. And like we said, if YouTube's not your thing and you still want to get some video, that's the place to go.
That is the place to be. I did. So this episode, it's just got a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
So we're just going to be sprinkling it throughout the entire show. I think some of them bring up a lot of good points, and we're gonna dive into that. But the first one is from Bruno, and he mentions just wanted to check if the music coming in on at 2:20 on the Alpine video was meant to happen or some weird audio sync issue. Yeah, it was a weird issue.
Oops.
This video, well, so for full disclosure, this video was rendered and somehow, because what I'll do is I have this big long timeline of the show itself, and then I'll take bits of that timeline, scooch it way out over here, and then render a new video based off of it. What I guess happened was, because you can draw a box around stuff, is I guess I drew a box around some of the
audio,
the bumper audio,
yeah,
or
bumper
something.
audio, yeah,
yeah, and scooched it out and rendered the video, and it was just in there. But the reason I bring that up because that got uploaded to YouTube, and it's one of our highest viewed videos of all time.
Yeah, it kind of is,
right? Like, so I just figured, it's doing fine.
It's the exact same video that is on YouTube.
Yep.
Not just did they get up, it's the exact same thing. It's the same file.
Yep. It is the same video. And I thought, why not just immortalize my mistake from here until forever?
We're human here, really.
It happens.
Yeah.
Well, I did it with the Ubuntu video too. I'd actually released the Ubuntu video a few Mondays ago. I guess it was the 2 episodes ago.
Yep.
The Monday where we don't have anything coming out. I published it then, and I was notified that it was missing some of me.
It's just a chunk of it gone. Yeah.
yeah. Just, and I think it was like a whole 2 minutes or whatever of me. Just, you can see my lips moving, but they're not doing a thing. And the Ubuntu video was actually quite a long one, so I didn't watch the entire thing through. And whoops. Whoops. But that one, you can't brush that one off, right? If you don't hear me talking for a little while, then
2 minutes
is
not quite time. Yeah.
Not quite. So that one got pulled down. I do have to re-render that one. But little mistakes like that, I think I'll leave in there. Little extra music in there, whatever. I'll leave it in there. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
It's not too distracting.
But it did make me laugh, and it seems to not have affected, other than to be slightly annoying for about 12 seconds, or maybe less.
10,
actually,
maybe.
I think it's a pretty short bumper.
It's a bumper, yeah.
Yeah. Whoops. That happens. That kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
So,
But all in all, we have no idea what we're doing, so just join us.
Yeah. There's a thing, like, so when you sign up for TILvids, you get that there's like an account for you attached to Mastodon
ish.
Maybe you know this more than I do, but we do, like, Linux user space at tilvids.com does exist on Mastodon.
Oh yeah, like I said, that's part of the thing. So like I subscribe to the video, but like if I comment, like a reply or a comment on that, like it goes back into TILvids, and same, like they go back and forth. Like the comment system is back and forth between the two, and it's shared. That's the part that is federated, even though the videos aren't like, you know, going to every instance of PeerTube.
Got it.
The comment stuff is like, and that's the kind of cool thing. And it's just, I don't know. Like, I think it's like a highlight of the way the Fediverse can work. And everybody that has a PeerTube instance kind of runs things slightly different depending on how they want. So, as an example, our friends over at Jupiter Broadcasting have their own PeerTube instance, and they do all of their show recordings, like when they do it live, like, you know, like we do it live too. But when they do theirs live, they stream that out live, and then they have the archive of the live show that sits in their PeerTube, and that's the only thing that's on their PeerTube is their content, and you know, obviously, so other people can, you know, subscribe to that or whatever. But that's kind of a unique way to do that, like, because like PeerTube has the live feature now in the later versions.
Yes, and TILvids has those checkboxes. I haven't tested them out yet, but what? So assuming, and by the way, when Dan said we have no idea what we're doing, I think Dan's just talking about me. Because I don't. I'm flying fast, baby.
That's a we. That's a we. I just click some boxes sometimes and get lucky. What can I say?
Hey. So but speaking of clicking some boxes, the live stream boxes do exist in TILvids. I am curious. Would people that tend to watch things live, or you know, even after the fact, right? Would that be something that you would prefer, like because we do Twitch, and you know, I don't have any kind of like love for Twitch or anything, any of the live stream services really.
I don't know if it's any better. It
wouldn't bother me to go to YouTube or anything,
right.
or really anywhere. But would that encourage you to come out and hang out, or not?
That's a good question. Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, let us know. Obviously, we'll just read your feedback because we got a lot coming up.
We've got a whole show of that. So, yeah, if you haven't subbed on YouTube and now TILvids, do it now while we got you distracted. We got the links. They're there. You just go click on them. And, you know, don't forget you can watch us on Twitch and maybe some other platform if that's what you prefer, but you got to let us know. You know, normally when things are going really well, watch for the announcements in the social places, and we'll let you know when we're live. And I love our patrons, and I know Leo does as well. So it's hard to keep up with all the folks. There's a bunch of them over there, and they get some good bits now. We started last time giving them the recording of our live episode. You know, the video, not just the audio. They get the video.
Yeah.
They get the uncut version.
I do a quick little edit, make things a little bigger because OBS comes out just me and Dan.
Yeah.
So, you know, I stick a logo on it and just...
It's really basic. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's the top tier. You get the video after the fact, after the live stream. So if you're not here to watch the live stream, we got you. It's there anyway, and you can watch it whenever you want through Patreon.
Yep.
And you also get the audio after the fact, and the tier below that, you also get just the audio of the live stream. So you're really not missing too terribly much, unless you just really enjoy.
You get the high quality audio. Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's also true. You get the high quality audio, so that music is big and fancy when you get it.
Yep. Lots of perks. If you want to join, you know, the other patrons, you can do so. Patreon.com/LinuxUserspace. Up first, our first big topic feedback thing.
Yeah, we said there was a lot of feedback.
It's all feedback.
So much feedback that we just made some of the feedback a topic. But this one just made a really good topic.
So this is from Johnny on Patreon. Hi, Leo and Dan. I thoroughly appreciate the uncut version of the episodes. Seeing how the Linux sausages are made is great, and it really highlights the U in LUS.
The U stands for ultimate, I think. I haven't checked in a while, but I think it's ultimate.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I also appreciate the effort you put into your podcasting setup. There are many content creators out there that would have better engagement and more views if only they didn't record with a potato.
Oh my God!
I test on my potato, I don't record with my potato.
When we first got this message, this is where I busted out laughing. The potato thing. I don't know why. Like I've heard it a bunch of times, but for some reason, sometimes it'll catch me off guard and just cracks me up. I love it.
I name my ancient things, after some sort of potato, usually like tater tot.
The tater top.
Yeah, stuff like that. He says, here's a good question that I really it'll get you thinking, I think. With the season of giving just around the corner, if you were to each pick a Linux or Floss project to show some support, what would they be? I will be sending a tip their way, and I encourage everyone listening to do the same.
Ooh.
So
This
Leo
is
and I
really
both
good question.
had some good picks, and Leo, you can go first with your pick. I thought it was excellent and very relevant.
Mine helps us a whole lot. I mean, we use it every single time we drop an episode. It's Kdenlive. We use it to do pretty much everything. I'd say as far as producing a show, I mean, I'm in Kdenlive 85 to 90% of the time. I like Audacity to trim up some of the audio a little bit, get out some of the clicks and pops and things like that, do a little compression. But I probably spend maybe 30 minutes total in Audacity. And then the hours that I spend putting the show together, cutting it up, doing splicing, adding shows, accidentally leaving audio bits in the middle of a thing that we put out.
Yeah. Whoopsie.
That's all done in Kdenlive. So I gotta go with Kdenlive. I have to. It is integral to this show. If Kdenlive didn't exist, this show would not exist in the way that it does. And the newest thing is, right, the top tier Patreon thing, that video goes through Kdenlive before it hits your ears. So and eyes, right? Because the video now
definitely gonna hit your eyeballs.
Yeah. So it very much is a huge portion of the production of this show. So
and just to add on to that just a little bit, like Kdenlive recently launched a new fundraising campaign. Kind of kicked off the way I think the KDE project is looking at handling a lot of fundraising throughout everything. So that's kind of interesting in itself. And it's a great thing to promote. I feel like so. Super excited that you picked that one because it definitely it directly affects the show. So
they deserve it. They absolutely deserve even if it's $1, whatever it is.
Yep.
And this is not just to Johnny. This is to everybody. That if this is something that might get you to send them $1, even if it's $1. Yeah, absolutely. They deserve it.
So my pick is FreshRSS. It's also something that directly impacts the show because I feel like all of the articles that we like, they've gone through my newsfeed. I've read them, maybe even a couple of times through a different couple of different news avenues. And then all the blogs, like all of the distro blogs and the desktop environment people, like I watch all of that stuff. And the only way I can do that and manage it is through my RSS feeder, FreshRSS. And it just, so on top of being, it sounds basic, right? Like you think email and that's just kind of boring and it looks blah, but they really spruce it up and make it look good too. So, I got a lot of props for the way it turns out. And it's simple. It's easy to run. I don't know. I really I couldn't do without it because I use it all the time.
And I'm a little slow on the uptake. FreshRSS does indeed have themes, and when you find them after 2 weeks, as give or take, then you'll find that they have a default dark mode that looks fantastic. I think after an update,
they might even
have
like 3 of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say they after an update. I think because again, FreshRSS runs so well, it runs in the background, and you kind of forget about it that it runs like at all. But and then months go by, and then I updated it and realized that there were 2 additional dark themes that I could play with. And yeah, I mean, the moment I installed it and got a few feeds in there, that was the moment that I fell in love with FreshRSS. So, 100%, they deserve $1.
Remember, we talked about TILvids, also YouTube, right? So both of those places, they essentially give you an RSS feed if you so choose.
Yes,
and you can subscribe to that in FreshRSS. And on top of just FreshRSS being great, there's these other people out there making extensions to go to extend it just a little further. And they're really super easy. Basically, you drop the stuff, right out of their Git repository into the folder that they specify. And then Bob's your uncle. You just restart your container, and then it's available to you to add on in the extensions page. And so one of them that I have is actually to play video right inside the news feed page. And so, YouTube, I can just click on the little YouTube, the embedded video, if you will, and watch it there. That's kind of handy, I gotta say.
Yeah.
It saves me going to YouTube to go watch something that, is a little short blurb of something.
Yeah, as I'm getting more into the PeerTube thing and the RSS thing and all of this stuff, that may be an extension that I'm going to have to put in there. But I will say I have been using FreshRSS extensionless the entire time. And it's been absolutely, I mean, you don't need much in an RSS reader. I mean, just big old fancy images, a whole heck of a lot of text, and some links to click on when you need to click on a link. That's really the extent to how I use RSS.
Yeah.
But some of these extensions are looking kind of nice, so I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe I do.
Maybe you do.
Maybe I need one.
So that's my pick for something to donate to. Yeah, I think it's a quality of life enhancement for me. So Johnny goes on, and he says, lastly, he's got another question for us. Lastly, I'd like to ask you the same question that Joe, Danielle, and Popey were asked on the new show, episode 4, like 2 years ago. And I'll have a link to that. If you couldn't pick any of your top 3 Linux distributions, which one would you pick next for personal use?
Ooh, this is hard.
So we're taking the top 3, we're wiping them right off, and then we're going to pick, what's next in the list.
Well, this is hard because I don't even know that I have defined what my top 3 actually is.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, for me, I'm going to let you know, right? I'm top 1. I'm going to take a whole family of distros, if you will, and just wipe them right off the list because I don't want to be. I mean, I contribute there, so I feel like that makes me a fanboy. So that's probably the top one. I'm got to eat your dog food. So Ubuntu.
So every Ubuntu,
every flavor probably. I'm just going to wipe that right off. Can't have that.
Okay, we have to define something here real quick.
Okay.
If you get rid of all the
follow me, but...
well, no, but I feel like that does make it more difficult to answer, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If we are getting rid of all of the Ubuntus,
yeah,
does that mean that things built on Ubuntu are also gone? So Linux Lite, Linux Mint, Elementary, are those?
That's a good question. I feel like those are different enough. They're derivative, not official Ubuntu and flavors. Okay, so that's where I'm drawing the line, right? Ubuntu and official flavors, those are kind of all the same, a little bit.
Got it.
A little more the same.
Okay.
So I'm wiping that one right off. So that's number 1. I don't know where I got to think about number 2. I really do, and probably obviously number 3. Where am I going with that? Wow, that's hard. That doesn't leave much when I get down to the bottom of that, because one of my favorites that we did was Void. I really liked Void, so that's probably like my number 2, right? So Void was great because we built it up from nothing, and you kind of did your own thing there,
right?
Using different init systems, so that was kind of nice. It made it kind of fast. Packages were fresh, so yeah, that's my number 2, I think.
So what? Okay, what's number 3?
3. Boy, I really enjoyed Arch when we did Arch, the Archway.
I know what you're gonna do.
So I gotta move that one aside probably too. So that's number 3.
Wait, Arch, like
Arch. The Archway.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one coming.
Okay, good. Yeah, I like to keep you on your toes.
Wow. So the Tinkerer comes out.
There's 1, 2, and 3 right there. I like making my own, I guess.
Okay, so here's why I asked if all of if Ubuntu derivatives were also off the table.
Okay.
Because I mean, I don't think it takes a whole lot of deep knowledge to know that I like Linux Mint.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably doesn't take a whole lot more knowledge to know that I really enjoy Elementary OS as well.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be 1 and 2.
Okay. Okay.
So,
what's number 3?
Let's say that Ubuntu is available, right? Like Linux Mint, Elementary OS, Ubuntu. But that makes it so boring. So let's say that Linux Mint's still my first favorite.
Yeah.
But let's just get rid of all the Ubuntus.
Okay.
Because Linux Mint is an Ubuntu derivative, just all of Ubuntu is gone at this point.
All right.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought about a lot of the things that came in feedback wise, but I forgot to think about this before we came on the show.
Yeah, I didn't either.
This is Cog's turning time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know, man. So okay, I mean, because what I look for in a system is something that I don't really have to think about too much. So that kind of it really makes it hard to run an Arch or any kind of rolling distribution. It really does. Mostly because I don't want to update that often. And when I do update, I don't want updates to be seismic. I don't want the world to change underneath me.
I can see that.
So that makes things that kind of trims out a little bit of what my choice would be. But it doesn't take it off the table.
Mm-hmm.
So with no Ubuntu,
right?
Would I go to the source?
Ooh.
You know what? No, with no Ubuntu. It's kind of sort of in the middle, right? I mean, I want to say Fedora.
Okay. Yeah, I could picture that for you. I really could.
Because I mean, the changes are it's not quite rolling, though. Nope. It is extremely up to date. They don't seismic you unless you're going from Fedora 36 to Fedora 37 or something like that. And in a case like that, you have time to prepare. So an update like that is coming. Usually months in advance, so you can prepare. And I'm okay with preparation. Like the Pipewire thing, right? Like we do a lot of audio, so Pipewire is a big change, and it would require a lot of thinking to get figured out. So
yeah, it's not too bad, by the way.
So with none of the Ubuntus at all,
no,
it would be Linux Mint, and then it would be Fedora.
Okay.
Now is the real tough one.
Okay.
Because Ubuntu and Fedora / Red Hat / CentOS / all those are ones that I'm very familiar with. And I think it's easy to go to Fedora because I'm still familiar with RPM-based distros, specifically the Red Hat ilk. So, that one's not a scary change at all. But now we're there. Those are my two fail-safes. Those are the ones that I would feel most comfortable on. So the third choice, whatever it's going to be, because I still haven't thought about it yet, is going to have to be way different. It's going to be way different. Would I be that boring? Would I be a Debian guy? I mean, Flatpak exists. This is how we got around in Slackware.
It is.
I mean, for a minute, I was like, I should say Slackware. But, I mean, I don't think so. I really don't. It's too involved, I think. I don't want to think about my updates that much. I don't want to have to manually decide what needs to happen in a lot of cases.
But you got to remember, it's number 3 or 4 here. We're deeper into the pool.
Yeah. Slackware's number 1 in my heart, though. So, if you ask me that question, Slackware. But actually usage on a day-to-day, my key point is stability. I want to turn it on, and I want to know that it works every single time. And Debian does fit that bill. It is so slow-moving, in fact. Okay, I'm not going to follow that up. But it is a slow-moving distro. I do like that about it. And
you could go testing if you really want to get, adventurous.
Right, and in a case like this, I don't think I do. I don't think I want to be adventurous. I want it.
You want it to just work. You want to turn it on, work, good.
Yeah. Once my hardware is supported, I don't want to think about it anymore. I just want security patches, pretty much. Maybe that's it. Is that the one?
That's not bad. It's not a bad choice. I could see you picking that. Yeah, honestly, I could. All right, so here's the big question: what do you pick? Well, those are all gone. Can't use them at all. Number 4 is the one that you're gonna now make your personal choice. And so I don't know. Like we did a bunch. Like obviously, so I did Arch. I said Arch the Archway. Because I really like tinkering on it, but in a way, we did some other Arch ones that were pretty great. Little less tinkery, and sometimes I did feel like that got in the ways. So they could be on the list because it's still, you can get back to the, getting some of that stuff out of the way. Or am I going to go like total tinkerer and go like Slackware and have to handle all of the dependencies from now until forever?
That's tough.
Or like I've still got Fedora on the table, I suppose, which was which was pretty great to me. A little out of my comfort zone, I guess. That's why it's further down the list. I'd actually feel more comfortable in Arch, for what it's worth. So yeah, number 4, I'm Fedora. That's my number 4.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Man, I'm out of options, I think. I mean, pretty much all of
you got some Arch choices that aren't terrible.
Well, I say out of options. I mean I mean the top 3 are my top 3. Like that. No, that's who I'd go with. Yeah, we're in untrodden territory. I think it's between two. I'd have to see these two fight to the death. It is between openSUSE Tumbleweed.
Okay. Yep. I figured that was going to be towards the top.
Yep. And EndeavourOS.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that too.
So the reason I can consider EndeavourOS is because I can do ButterFS and TimeShift.
That's the same reason you could use openSUSE.
Right. Exactly. I think I'm gonna have to go with openSUSE Tumbleweed. I have to.
It's a little better stability model, I suppose, right? Because the snapshot release mechanism that they choose. So that's fair.
I guess super runner up would be Manjaro.
Oh, really?
But
that's really high.
And I would have to say no Manjaro, just simply for the same reason that I wouldn't do Endeavor OS, because I would have to choose ButterFS on the setup. I'd have to set up time shift and get all that going and everything like that. Whereas with openSUSE, remember, one of my requirements is I don't want to have to think about it too much. Yeah, and that comes stock. The snapshotty thing comes stock, and I like that. I like not thinking about it, because what I want to do is I want to log into my laptop and I want to do the work.
And so for me, the runner up for me is probably Garuda.
Okay.
And like I was alluding to, the things, it's a little flashy in the appearance, I suppose, which I find, I don't want to say off-putting. It's not for me. I'm not the edgy gamer type.
True.
You know what I'm saying? It's not terrible though. It is really consistent, and I can get along with it. So that's why I say it's not off-putting, but it's just not my style. But I overall, like, I could easily use that and get by really well.
Yeah. But I will say I haven't looked at Manjaro in quite a long time. So
that's fair.
There may have been things that changed in Manjaro. I'll need to take another look. But as it stands now, from my latest experience, it's got to be the Tumbleweed, man.
Okay. Yeah, and so all of my choices were based on things we've covered in the show. We've still got more distros that we haven't covered yet.
Oh, I know. There's so much to do. So much to do, Dan. Speaking of so much to do, we have feedback to that.
We got more show.
Actually, lots of feedback. Lots of feedback to that effect. So yeah, we'll start heading that way. But to finish out on Johnny's feedback, Lust mugs, other merch, yes please. And yeah, so it's in the works. We got to figure out a couple of things on how exactly this is going to work. But yeah, stickers and mugs and things, those are coming.
So you can catch the great topics as they unfold on our subreddit or our news channel on Discord. linuxuserspace.show/reddit or linuxuserspace.show/discord for those. And then, we've got Telegram and Matrix and Mastodon. We've got that one too. And now TILvids and Twitter. I don't know.
But we need another redirect now.
Yeah, we do. That's a good point. We'll have to work on that. Gives me something to do.
There you go.
So, up next, Mozilla Watch. First up, Mozilla put up this blog post about adding accessibility. Not just adding accessibility for Mozilla users, but just internet users in general, honestly. And 8-step? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so Jamie Te joined Mozilla in 2017, blind from birth. From 2006 was working on non-visual desktop access. So, I mean, this is basically just helping people that cannot see get around on a computer. And that's huge work. So joined in 2017 as an accessibility engineer, and since then has been working to make not just the desktop, but Firefox itself more accessible. And one of the cool things that's been happening here lately was text recognition in macOS. This is kind of standing on top of some of the inbuilt functionality of macOS. Like when you have an image, I don't know if I'm surely Android can do this too, where you have an image and there's a bunch of text in the image, and then you can like copy it, like the text itself. And I use it a lot myself. I'll take a picture of a serial number and then I'll copy paste it and like chuck it into notes or something like that. Make it real easy. Cause, how many times will I like incorrectly copy that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like the optical recognition converts that, if you will, and then you can copy the text, which is cool.
Right. But the thing that I don't see is that that also helps folks that are using screen readers trying to read an image.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so you have this really cool thing that Firefox is now able to use in macOS that will just read images, which is fantastic. But this is just one part of a larger thing that is going on called Cache the World.
Right.
This is an accessibility push that so let me just read what this is. So Firefox, or Mozilla says, Firefox current architecture for multi-process accessibility suffers from severe performance issues and is costly and difficult to maintain due to the massively different and specialized approaches necessary on different operating systems, right? Windows does it different, Mac does it different, Linux does it different. In addition, it's currently impossible to support built-in Windows accessibility tools such as Narrator and Windows Speech Recognition. This project, meaning Cache the World, aims to re-architect our multi-process accessibility support to cache the entire accessibility trees for all content processes within the parent process. Okay, pulling the curtain back on that. What that means is they're making it faster.
Yeah.
To make things accessible inside of Firefox.
Yeah, because the speed is not up to where it needs to be able to read these things well.
And it bringing in tools that didn't previously work.
Correct.
So this is absolutely huge. So we were looking at, so a lot of this, Milestone 0, a lot of work had been done prior to this, but December 2021 was Milestone 0, and it was the initial proof of concept. Squashed a lot of bugs, made it to Milestone 1 in March 2022, and this was getting it working on Android. And another ton of bugs squashed. Milestone 2, August 2022, and this is now where Windows users in the nightlies can now opt in to test it out, see how it's working, and figure, just essentially help make this work. Milestone 3, 2022. That's now. That's what this previous post is talking about. Is enabled by default in Nightly 109, which is now. So that's fantastic. And there are a few more milestones that I mean, essentially just scoop in more and more and more and more and more Windows users. What's interesting, they don't have a date on it, but so Milestone 6, May 2023, is basically all Windows users will have all of these features, all these accessibility features on stable, right? Everybody gets it. Then the next milestone after that is enable for all Mac and Linux users on beta. So if you're on the beta channel, that means you get this, and then but there's no date on it. So I'm assuming late 2023.
Yeah, probably. And then, right? Yeah, fall.
And then
2023.
Milestone 8 is just going to be all Mac and Linux users will have this functionality. So I mean, again, just spitballing here. Early 2024 is likely, maybe, possibly, could be.
Yeah, things have to go right, obviously. I mean, this is software development, so, you can't have a whole bunch of bugs and setbacks. So, yeah.
And so I think, I mean, this is a lot of good work. There are a lot of people.
This is amazing. This is just absolutely amazing. Accessibility engineers are just, there's not that many of them out there in the world. And so the fact that Mozilla is invested in this is pretty great, I think. Yeah, just natively there's been improvements in things because, like, we, even though we're not visually impaired, get to utilize some of the benefits. Like when you go to a web page that, offers up the reading, the reader mode, if you will. And so like you get to read through that. That helps. When you think about it, that's helping the people with screen readers be able to read that page too, because it's not all gobbledygook with ads and pictures and such.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of information out there that may be inaccessible to some folks, and this is an attempt to make it all accessible to
which is
as
fantastic.
Many folks as possible.
Really great.
So I applaud this, and I mean, somebody's paycheck might be a little too big, but at the very least, you can see that some of the money is going to a whole lot of good stuff.
Yep.
But speaking of good things, just a bit of a reminder, because they put out another blog post a couple days later about reflecting on a decade of anti-tracking. And this is really just, at least the very first thing that we're going to talk about is a reiteration of why I like Firefox so much.
Yeah.
And why Brave is my second choice.
Mm-hmm.
Total cookie protection, right? Just a reminder that every website you go to has its own cookie jar that cookies are put into. And when you leave to another separate website, those cookies do not follow you around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't mingle. The cookies don't mingle.
They do not, right? I mean, even when you're talking about websites that have historically been really good at tracking you on the web.
Yeah.
This defeats a lot of that stuff, and you have to do nothing except for install Firefox and use it.
Yeah, just open it up.
That is it. And I mean, multi-account containers, the extension helps out with this a little bit. But the real meat and potatoes of total cookie protection is just on by default. And it's absolutely amazing. One of the best browsers that you can get your hands on. And I think it goes without saying that, monoculture is not good for anybody. So everybody being on a Chromium-based browser, probably not going to be a good thing in general. So watching Firefox and watching Mozilla push these particular boundaries, I think is absolutely fantastic, which is why I'll keep using it. I'll keep talking about it and supporting what they're doing.
Privacy focused right out of the box. You don't have to do anything. And I guess to take that a step further, like they really kind of turned it on with the VPN stuff too. And they partnered with Movad. You obviously have to put your trust in the provider that you choose. So
you do.
You got to do some homework on that. That's all I'm going to tell you. Don't take my advice, but it's from what I know, it's one of the better ones, and blends in with the browser at that point. So that's kind of nice if you choose to go that route.
Yeah, that is kind of nice. And as far as I understand, you can now. It weren't at the beginning, but you can now use the VPN outside of the browser as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of huge.
Because the browser is not the only thing you do, but I guess it's nice to have it, like, just for that though too.
Exactly. So it is nice. I'm not a user of the VPN.
Me neither.
But they started out the VPN thing back in like 2018 with their strict mode where it would kind of mask your IP address. Yeah. And this is why there was that warning where it was like, well, some of the stuff on the internet might break. And it was because folks were doing tracking and weird IPs coming from all over the place looked weird. And then you just wouldn't get served up some content.
Right.
And yeah, it broke the web. It's a lot better now.
Yep.
With total cookie protection, right? I mean, ingenious. Just ingenious. No website even knows that you're doing any kind of cookie shenanigans. It's that good.
Yep.
It defeats most of any kind of tracking out there just simply because the website can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. But on top of total cookie protection, on top of the VPN, you get Firefox Relay, which and shout out to DuckDuckGo because they have Duck.com.
Yep, similar thing. Yep.
And so Firefox Relay is you get a Mozmail, essentially email address that you can forward everything to, and then it will then forward it to your real email address so that you don't have to continue giving your real email address out.
Yeah.
And this is something, I don't know if Google does this, but I know iCloud, the Apple thing, does this, where it'll just automatically generate you a new email address for every merchant that you go to so that you can immediately delete it when they start spamming you.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, so you can kind of do this with Google by using the little plus at the end of your email address, right? And then, you can just block everything from that at a certain point if you decide that you don't want it anymore.
Right.
But Duck and Mozmail, the Firefox Relay thing,
they're just completely separate. Yeah.
Right. And you can just delete them. Like, you can delete them forever.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, set up some kind of rule to start blocking them. You just, that email address is done now. Now the hackers got it.
Well,
so,
and you don't have to worry about another email address to go check someplace and log into and all of that jazz, because all it does is just relay. It just forwards right through.
It is a relay. And one of the cool things that it does, and one of the cool things that Duck.com, their relay service does, is it strips tracking out of emails as well, which means that by the time it gets to your real inbox, those silly little tracking images, the little the tracking pixel,
all that jazz,
all that stuff is stripped out. So what you see is just the actual email without the tracking bits. And this is why I've kind of reverted to using an email client on the desktop. That's why I use Thunderbird, because it doesn't strip the tracking out, but it refuses to load any kind of active content on the page.
Yeah, you can turn that off. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That one's okay. I allow. Yeah.
Exactly. Until you display it. And in that case, you kind of ask for it. I kind of wish that it would strip that stuff out. Maybe that's something in the works. I don't know. But but I like that it prevents it from running on my machine in the first place, just simply because I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't need you to know
it's icky.
That I've opened up your email. Yeah. Icky's a good word.
All right. Something that's not icky. Another browser. But
yes.
Not icky. Web panels. All right. So if you're familiar with Vivaldi, you know what a web panel is. But if you don't, like Leo's probably scrolling one right here in the middle of the page of what the newest web panel that Vivaldi has furnished. And that is for the Mastodon web panel. And in addition to rolling this out as a feature, they rolled out their own Mastodon instance. And so this is a huge thing. And people, like, it's the day this rolled out, like, thousands of people signed up and joined Mastodon that day because this brings it to a place that you have easy access to it, which is kind of nice.
Well, I mean, they gave you the Twitter sign up thing where it's just that easy.
Yep.
Here it is. Go here, sign up, follow the people you like, just do some searches.
Yep.
And I mean, with it being backed by a company like Vivaldi, it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And the fact that they bake it into the browser is just nice. Because there's a lot of difficulty in understanding how it is that you need to be using Mastodon, how to get started, how to do all this stuff. And Vivaldi figured it all out for you. They
sure did.
Set up an instance for you. They integrate it into the browser. They make sign up really easy. Yeah, I mean that would explain why, however many people signed up on day one.
Mastodon signups went whoop the day they launched that, and it's no wonder. But I'll say the feature works really good as a web panel, like, because Mastodon as a page, obviously, if you shrink your page down and whatever, it's reactive. So the side panels and stuff will collapse down into just icons, and you can slide it out further, and then you have your side panels or whatever. But it's nice just having your Mastodon feed just kind of rolling there. It's not nice for your productivity, Leo. So if that's what you were looking for.
No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. If that thing was open off to the side, I would just get distracted so easily and start scrolling.
Yeah.
Ooh, what did they say? Ooh, what did they say?
And what did they say? And so that's kind of nice. But then you can just hit the little Mastodon thing, and it just collapses back up into the rest of your page, and you're right back to business. So
it would have to stay there.
It's not like it's different than a tab. So I don't know how to explain it until you've experienced it.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, so Vivaldi's doing a lot of work, and I mean, so I joke a lot of times, and I say that a browser is about as complex as an operating system. I mean, it is.
Vivaldi's right there.
Yeah, I mean, if Google has anything to say about it, the operating system will be the browser. And Vivaldi is doing a lot of work to try and, I guess do the same thing, really, because they have a built-in mail client, they have a built-in calendar, they have a built-in feed reader, and now they have built-in social media.
So the difference there, though, is like they're not in it to learn about you and sell you advertisements. They do want to sell you the services, which is fine. Like, I feel like if you want to sell me a service, that's okay. I can bite.
Yep.
If I don't, then I don't want to be selling my soul to you.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference, I feel like.
But they're giving you the whole enchilada, right?
Yeah. So
I mean.
Oh, if you do have a Vivaldi account, like if you have ever logged into the forums or you're using the mail, you can use your Vivaldi login as your Mastodon login. It's all
cool.
like authentication.
See what I mean about simplifying the stuff?
Yeah, so the authentication comes together like it should. Like that's kind of how that sort of stuff is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And so you can stay in that ecosystem and, enjoy.
I like that a lot.
I like what they've done. It's a good job. Hey, you want to have a topic covered or have some feedback, just like the rest of the show? You can send us an email, contact@linuxuserspace.show.
Hey, listen, we're cutting it close.
We've already had a whole show.
It's feedback time. Furicle on Mastodon just sent us a message. If you're looking for a history series concept, what about file systems? EXT, XFS, JFS, ZFS, etc., etc. Maybe too specific, but thanks for the podcast. I don't think it's too specific.
I think it's in the realm of possibilities.
I think so. I like it. I do like it. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah. So next up, Pi on Mastodon says, have you had a look at the distro Bunsen Labs?
Yes. So I had heard that, and I went and dug it up because I do history, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a forum post by Cornomial, the leader of Crunchbang, titled "The End," and it is. I'll read the first little bit off of it. I have decided to stop developing Crunchbang. This has not been an easy decision to make, and I've been putting it off for months. It's hard to let go of something you love. Dan, do you know who he blames this on?
No.
No, because I didn't tell you about it.
No.
And if you hadn't read this before, you wouldn't know.
I didn't read it.
Crunchbang died because Lubuntu existed.
Oh,
you did it. You did it to them, Dan. How dare you?
You know,
How
I have that effect on people.
you?
We did a whole episode that was titled that. So there
do?
you go.
Oh my God! It did that connection wasn't made. I didn't make that connection until you said it.
Oh boy, I have a curse. I'll admit though, like I've used Bunsen Labs a couple of times. Like we tested it out on Biddle or something, and it's got a lot of appeal. So.
Yeah. Either way, so Cornomial killed the Crunchbang project, but out of the ashes of the Crunchbang project came Bunsen Labs, and Bunsen Labs took the torch and ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still active today. As a matter of fact, I started looking into it because, Pi. The answer is probably we're gonna do that one because they should have had, I believe it's Beryllium is what it was called, is the name of their, the release that is based off of Debian 11, which should have come out around July time, but did not because they were doing a lot of back-end changes, a lot of things that were cropping up and problems that were cropping up that, finally the straw that broke the camel's back, they had to just get it done. And it was around the time that Beryllium was supposed to be released. So they pushed it and pushed it a little more and pushed it a little more. And now we're looking at a soonish Beryllium release. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see when Crunchbang releases, because I think what we typically do when we choose a distro is we try to choose a distro that has recently, within a month or two, had a release so that...
at least a few months, yeah.
Right, so we can have a more complete look at the history. Let's get this last milestone in so that we can wrap that up, put a nice, neat little bow on it, and end the history on a high note.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm waiting on Beryllium, and then we'll make a decision on when that's actually going to drop. But it's going to be such a good history, I think. All right, so we had another one. I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly because it's a long one. So this is George H. I started using Emacs 20 back in 2000 on GNU Linux, as it was introduced to first-year computer science students to type simple Java code to complement the Introduction to Programming course. What fascinated me was the automatic indentation and color highlight. I quickly realized that it could be configured in a weird programming language, and my journey had begun. I fondly remember the feeling of tweaking a command or using custom to make it suit me better. I kept configuring and using it on the Sunray terminals on Solaris, while everybody else migrated to InEdit. And yet, Everybody asked which editor I was using when they saw my screen, using big, readable fonts with bright, highlighted colors and a black background. Most never realized it was the same editor we started using on our first course. After that point, around 2001-2002, I never saw anybody else using Emacs directly, which stays true to this day. After dabbling with Xemacs, and a long hiatus since around 2004 of using Vim at home and the odd Windows editor at work, I became an Emacs user once again in 2009. During the years, I've embraced and enjoyed the new features on each version, including the magnificent 29, still being developed. One of the questions we always have is, why isn't Emacs more popular? I don't have an answer to how to attract more users, although there's been a huge resurgence in the last few years from adopted Vimmers, thanks to Emacs being better designed overall and evil mode. So I don't know either. I don't know the answer to that other than the learning curve is steep.
Yeah,
and,
it's different. So, like, we used it a little bit, and I didn't run away from it, but I just didn't know what I was doing. So
no, we had a show to do, Dan. You couldn't run away from it. You promised.
There's that, but no, I didn't swear it off after the show, right? I guess that's where I'm going with that. But it's just not what I know, and so I'm gonna have to keep going back to it a little bit, and then learn it a little better, and then really form an opinion on it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think indoctrinated is a strong word, but I think you have to force people to use it for a while, make them get used to it, and then you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm used to this now. Yeah. Meta key, control key, Emacs pinky, and I'm all right with this.
Yep.
I think that's it. I mean, for the same reason that the Vim memes exist,
for sure.
It is a bit of a uphill slog to get used to it, and I think that's it. That is really the only reason, besides the slowness, right, which has been taken care of.
And maybe to make my transition a little better, I may go like evil and use the Vim key bindings a little more, just to make it easier on myself, so I can learn it a little better. I'll get back to it. I promise.
Oh yeah, we're both Dan and I are pretty cyclical. We'll come back to it again. But it's the research in me. I can't read a cool comment like that without clicking on the username and then figuring out what else is out there by that particular person.
Yeah.
And I stumbled upon a set of 4 videos.
Okay.
Programming the PDP-11. And it is an instructor, a professor of computer science talking to his student. And he and she both end up going back in time to talk to someone that is programming a PDP-11. Campy, I think, is the word. Okay. Yeah, it is. But it is actually, cool. If that is your thing, or if you can get past that, it's actually extremely informative. There are things about a PDP-11 that I would not have ever known. About the paper tape, that like the PDP-11, you could manually toggle in, and I'm talking like there are toggles in Octal for you to flip up, flip down, depending on how you what you were trying to program, and you could input a program like that. But my God, is that tedious?
It's slow.
And then they introduced paper tape.
Yeah, just feed it right in, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it like punches holes, right? I mean, essentially punch cards.
It's like
but
it's like a reel, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you feed it into this thing so that you load the loader program, and then you feed in the paper tape, and then it just sucks it on in there, and then it loads the program into the 32 kilobytes of memory that the thing had small in the video. Yeah, 64 was the maximum. But I know the video was educational, but it was it's absolutely fantastic. I do think it's worth a watch. So
I'm going to watch it now,
George. Yeah, you need to. After this is done, you need to. I think it's like 5-minute segments, so it's like 20 minutes total, not even. But it's worth a watch. So, George, thanks for the feedback. Thanks for making those videos.
Yeah.
They were really good. So this next email didn't actually come with a name. Had a domain, but I didn't want to put the domain out there. So it starts out, "Hi guys, I recently found your show and am enjoying it a lot. Thanks for the great work. I wanted to mention 2 little gotchas I've found with Pass and QtPass, which I've been using for a few years now on either Ubuntu or most recently on Pop! OS. When you choose to rename a password file in the GUI, a dialog box appears asking you what you want to rename the file to. If you do not specify the GPG extension in the new name, the file will disappear from the GUI. You can go into the password store folder and you will see the file there without the extension, and you can add it to make the file reappear in the GUI. Kind of confusing because the GUI otherwise hides the extensions for all your password files. However, in this case, you need to remember to use the extension. I'm using Pass with QtPass with a YubiKey for the GPG key I use to initialize the database. I'm not sure if the problem lies in glitchy communication with the GPG agent or what, but on occasion, I modify a password file and then click OK to save the change. The YubiKey lights up, asking for touch confirmation to access the private key, and somehow, when I touch the YubiKey, the entire password file gets overwritten as a blank file. All info is lost. I'm also in the habit of copying the password from the generate password field in the GUI and pasting it a second time down in the body of the file as a backup to the generate field, just because I don't trust myself not to hit that generate button accidentally and wipe out the password and then accidentally save the change. Thanks again for the great shows and positive attitude. But I think this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I think the instructions kind of default to using Git.
Yeah,
you have that
version
if
controlling
something like this
backup.
Yeah,
if you will.
If something like this happens and you accidentally blank out a password,
revert.
You have a history of that password store so that you can go back and pull it back because oh my god, it deleted my password again or something like that.
Yeah.
But everything is encrypted, so it's not like unless you've got shoulder surfers that can handle 32 character passwords plus.
Yeah.
It's not really a huge deal to just have it pasted somewhere. So as long as it's in that encrypted store, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and I'll say so obviously this is software. It's still in development, today. So, bugs you have maybe getting worked on or have already been worked on. So, you say Pop! OS and I think LTS, so sometimes if you're pulling from the repo, it could be a little stale. It could have some little glitchy bugs that aren't like showstoppers.
Yeah, you didn't specify, so maybe. I mean, I suppose if you've been using Pass and QtPass for as long as you have, you're likely up to date. But if you're not up to date, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it needs an update. So that's a possibility. Is where I'm going.
But I guess on the flip side of that, if it's just a bug that's in Pass and QtPass, then maybe it's just a good service announcement. Public service announcement for those that are using Pass and or QtPass.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that.
Yep.
And again, this is a good reason to have that version control. So just in case, because I know that resetting passwords and things like that is not the end of the world, but it might. Yeah, I mean, it'll save your bacon just to be able to pull out an old version and just say, all right, this is the password store now.
Yeah,
we're reverting back. And
I think this is great feedback because like this is like my limited use that I've had isn't enough to have that longevity, if you will. I put a few passwords in there, whatever, and hold on to them, but I don't get too wild with my implementation.
I don't go out there with Bitwarden. It's a password store thing. That's what it does. And I mean, I barely even touch the extensions for the most part. Bitwarden is just nice and isolated. It is where it is, and so I'm a very light user of any type of password management tool. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, that's me. But I think it's good to let others know, where things are at as well. For sure. So thank you very much for the feedback,
Daniel. Imagine that.
Another Dan. Huh.
He writes in. He says, "May I request you cover some of the history of IPv4 and IPv6? I want to help push education of IPv6 and why it is very important that the world move to an IPv6 stack only. But we need a dual stack in the meantime."
This is
this is probably in our wheelhouse. I feel we can certainly bring this into the show.
It's Linux adjacent. It's in the tech field,
Yeah.
but I'm in the tech field, so this is absolutely something that I've thought about a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
And the conundrum of when is IPv6 ever going to happen? But it is happening, though. It actually is.
It is
happening. There were issues early on in IPv6's life that basically stifled the entire first decade of its existence.
Oh yeah.
But after that, it's been a slow, steady drip, drip, drip of additional IPv6 adoption, and it's getting there more and more. You're seeing even ISPs, allot you an entire 64 or something like that. I say an entire 64. That's about as small as you cut them down.
I think it might be, yeah.
You have these just massive, massive networks compared to IPv4. So I mean, already, like you already have to change the way that you think about how you do network segmentation in the first place. But yeah, I mean, I certainly have an interest in it. I have a passion for networking, but I don't see why we couldn't do something like that.
I think there's a lot to talk about, though, about like decisions made and when they were made and why they were made and all that stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of room for opportunity, and I wouldn't mind touching on some of that. I will say, like, I think all of the less, properties that are on the internet, they might all be available via IPv6 as well as IPv4.
Oh. So we're part of the solution and not part of the problem, is what you're saying.
I think so.
And I like that. I like that a lot.
All right, Leo. First up of the focus sessions. Keep it focused, and we're going to focus on the community here.
Good. I like to focus on the community.
So this focus session is Techno Tim. And Techno Tim is... he probably doesn't need my endorsement. He has a bunch of followers already, but I've really picked up a lot of information from him, so I really want to give him a plug. He's mostly into the home lab scene, if you will, and so he's doing a lot of Docker stuff and Docker Compose, which I know you're a fan of, and I am too.
I am.
And stuff, the self-hosting scene, and so, but... he talks about that stuff, and obviously Linux comes into play, and open source projects that he's talking about. And, and just the way he presents the information is very calm, and I think very thorough. So I think almost anybody can follow along, even if you're not, a seasoned sysadmin. You can still watch and learn and get some insight on some of these things that we sometimes talk about.
Yeah, it helps to watch a video like this and watch someone like this put something together to kind of demystify what all the pieces actually mean. I mean, because he really does everything. I mean, there's Pi-hole out there, there's Docker out there, there's Proxmox out there, there's Rancher, there's Kubernetes, there's Plex, there's Unify, there's Grafana, there's just all the things. All like what SSL is and how to put that onto one of your servers, right? Like all of that stuff is out there, and he makes it accessible to folks that are not a 10-year sysadmin vet,
right?
Just deciding that I want to throw Google away and all of that. I mean, you might want to throw Google away, but this removes the need for the 10 years of experience. Maybe you just need a couple of years of a couple of months of experience with VirtualBox to kind of get a feel for how things go together, and from there you can really start making some progress on serving up a lot of these things from home or from a VPS that you spend $2, $3, $4, $5 a month for, and really start taking the data, I guess, right? The data about you and everything else into your own hands. And I'm always a proponent of something like that. The more that you can self-host, I think, without pulling your own hair out, without adding a huge amount of stress, onto your day-to-day. Don't do it, because it's not worth it. When you're stressing about your home lab all day and night, that's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to hurt you in the long run more than it's going to help you. But I mean, if you enjoy the kind of thing, if you enjoy this kind of thing, if you like home labbing, if you have an extra couple of, like a Raspberry Pi or an extra PC sitting around, I mean, this is a pretty good channel.
I think it is pretty good
to learn some stuff on. He even does even for us Linux folks, he does like a good how to dual boot Windows and Ubuntu. And I mean, that's something that I think a lot of us run into.
Can't go wrong
early
with that
on.
Yeah.
Nope.
And so like he puts a lot of his code on GitHub too, so you can follow along in a lot of the tutorials and stuff that he's doing. Yep. So that's pretty great. So I say make sure to follow him on YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. And I really love his relaxed, down-to-earth vibe.
Can't go wrong with that.
So that's Techno Tim. Link in the show notes. Next up on the Focus. App Focus.
App Focus. This one is funny.
So, yeah, we got to go back to an email that we got way back.
About 20 months ago.
This is from the CrowdSec folks. Says, we recently started a new Linux cybersecurity project and wanted to bring it to your attention. In a nutshell, CrowdSec is and always will remain an open source and free, massively multiplayer firewall able to analyze visitor behavior and provide an adapted response to all kinds of attacks. The game changer is that the solution also enables users to protect each other. Each time an IP is blocked, all community members are informed so they can also block it. We built this tool for the people in order to make security accessible to everyone.
So my favorite thing about this is as I was rereading the email and as Dan and I were talking about this service, because Dan stood this up for us in front of some of the stuff that we've got on the internet.
Yep.
And as we're looking into it more, a light bulb came on, and I was like, wait a minute. What dawned on me was that CrowdSec is a free and open source version of the multi-$1,000 a year subscription that the big boys charge you for.
Oh yeah.
Now, the real key to this is the more people that see attacks, the more you can protect everybody else. But yeah, this is enterprise grade feature set that you really will fork over a ton of cash to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah,
and we're getting to take advantage of it for free.
Free, yeah. Well, you remember last time, Leo, when we talked about Linux Lite, and we said when everyone shares knowledge, everyone benefits, right? When you share knowledge, everyone benefits.
What a callback.
And so there it is. That's essentially what we're doing. We're sharing knowledge about different, things on the internet. And so everyone's going to benefit. So what the heck is CrowdSec? It's a few things, really. All of them are wonderful, of course. It's an IDS or an intrusion detection system, meaning it can recognize when someone is prying at that locked door that you put up there. I'm speaking digitally, of course, and referring to your servers that are out there on the internet. When someone is trying to brute force or crack their way in, this can raise a flag notifying something bad is happening.
Yeah, and we touched on this a little bit before because I was kind of poking fun at fail to ban.
Yep.
And I said they failed to ban, right? And so when you think of IDS, you don't have to think that it's like crazy AI, all kinds of machine learning, whatever. I mean, it's just a set of things has happened, and we're going to alert you.
Yeah, it recognizes that little fingerprint that's happening, and it knows that that's the thing to watch out for.
Yeah, to put that into context, like someone logging into or attempting to log into SSH on a server that they don't own and getting the password wrong a few times, using usernames that don't exist on the system. That's a red flag. So that will that'll raise a red flag, and there's with an IDS is usually like a push notification or an email or something like that gets sent out so that you are aware that something is
happened.
going on. So it can be super simple stuff, or it can be it can get pretty complex when stuff starts rolling.
So CrowdSec takes that a step further, and it is also an IPS or intrusion prevention system. So it isn't really enough just to alert, like we just mentioned, on the bad things. We also need to block that stuff from happening as well. And so when the IDS trips, it can make a firewall rule happen here, even if it's just temporarily.
Right, and there's a couple acronyms that we've talked about so far, IDS and IPS, right? So the only real difference is that the IDS is going to send you a message about something happening, and the IPS, the prevention system, is actually going to do something about it. And in this case, CrowdSec, what it's going to do is it's going to set up some firewall rules to stop or slow whatever it is that raised that red flag in the first place.
But it gets better, Leo. So CrowdSec has all these built-in scenarios, or like IDS things that, things it's detecting that you can install based on the server role, what the role of things are for this thing you have out on the internet. And so it can watch for a whole bunch of things out of the box just by installing those. And then additionally, it has many bouncers, or like the prevention system that it can also interface with, and they talk to each other. So, for example, our redirect page is Caddy for the software, the web software. And so you install the Caddy scenario, and it can then watch the Caddy logs and take a look at all of the stuff that's coming through. But by default, it also installs the SSH, module as well, and watches that. And so the bouncer can then interface with, like, if Caddy was just a reverse proxy for you, it could set up things just in Caddy, or you can set it up to use IP tables and block at the firewall. Like, it is really feature rich, and it's got these things that are just ready to go out of the box. You just install them.
So if you've got something that is moderately popular, like Caddy, or Apache or Nginx, or I'm sure whatever you want to throw out there, Plex, things like that.
And it's got Nextcloud, like a whole bunch of different things. Yeah,
exactly. Whatever service you're running, there's a good chance that CrowdSec has these scenarios, that it can check out the logs. When something looks fishy, then the bouncer comes in and starts saying, "All right, you know what? All right, no, we're not allowing this particular traffic anymore."
Absolutely. And so on top of that, like, obviously you can log into the machine, and there's a way to get the metrics right there on the machine and stuff. And like, if you turned it on, you could even get the GUI, web metrics back out of it and stuff.
Now you're speaking my language. When I have pretty pictures and graphs to go along with these things that are protecting me, that's my favorite.
But you don't have to do that, because there's a great console that they provide for you right out of the box. Like, all you gotta do is sign up for it. And so your agent, the bouncer agent, and the scenarios and stuff, they report back to the console, and then you can see, all of your alerts and where they're coming from, and they got nice little pretty graphs for you, Leo. And so it lets you know which things that it's triggering on, and how many different scenarios that it's watching for. It's super fantastic. It really is nice. And all of your machines can report into the same console, so that you can see all of them in the dashboard at a glance. And that's kind of nice too, having the single pane of glass where all your things are reporting back.
It's nice. I like graphs. What can I say?
Yeah.
Pretty colors, graphs, things that move. I like it. I like it. Put it up on a screen permanently, and then I'll just watch it from time to time.
I think it helps keep things clean and protects your internet assets that you have out there.
Protect your assets, folks.
Protect your assets. One final thing on their mission statement says, "Our mission is simple: make the internet a safer place for everyone."
Next time, the history of Gecko Linux. Ooh, a few thoughts and whatever else we can cram into the show. All the things. But in between shows, you can catch us on the old Twitter, Mastodon, Telegram, Matrix, Discord, YouTube, TILvids, all the things. I know I missed something. I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, give us your suggestions on our subreddit or all of the aforementioned places, because as you can see, I'll pull feedback, comments, and everything from everywhere. And join the conversation. All the links in the show notes and on linuxuserspace.show. So Dan, where can we find more of you?
You can find me at KC2BZ on Twitter still, maybe, and definitely at KC2BZ at Mastodon.social.
It hasn't melted down just yet. So you can still find me at Leo Chavez on Twitter, and of course at Leo Chavez at Mastodon.social. Join us again in 2 weeks for more Linux User Space.
Yeah. See you then.
Bye. Yay, look, yay, it stayed up the whole time. So I think I'm going to try and do that.
Okay.
Hollywood was in the repos. I was going to try and do Hollywood, but it didn't work. It just, like, relaunched HTOP.
Oh. What about, like, C-Matrix?
You'll need to give me a list of all these things so I can have them running back there.
Yeah.
What I don't want, though, is, like, fluid things. Like, so I didn't want BTOP on there because BTOP has something, and I'm overthinking it. But if I cut something out of it, then it's going to, like, jump up 10 minutes. And then, that one nerd like me is going to be like, hey, wait a minute. But like as if we don't edit the show. I know, I'm overthinking it. That's just the thing
have to edit the show. Matrix shouldn't be bad because, like, that's enough busy stuff going on that you're not paying attention to that.
Yeah, because BTOP has a time historical thing.
Yeah.
And if it just goes like that, then it would just look weird. Yeah, and well, you can't now, but I'm gonna. So in post, it will be zoomed in quite a bit more.
Yeah, it's a different camera, right? Yeah, so.
And yeah, it is a different camera, and I'm not. It might still be okay. You know what? This video will decide whether or not I get to do something fancy like BTOP.